the MSPs that I speak to are looking for how do we provide value to our customers, not just in sort of the outsourcing and the sort of resale capability, but how do we provide them, strategy consulting upfront so that they're making the decisions that make sense. MSP is a really interesting space, right? Because it's like kind of a continuum of different capabilities. So everything from providing just managed staffing provider, right, to managed services provider. The opportunity for MSPs to really shine, right? So provide some business consulting up front, really hyper specialize into a capability that is in demand, and then provide sort of that durable presence, right, in the account. So it's a really interesting space right now because, even though you classify them as MSPs, managed service providers, they're really moving into the professional services, the SI spaces, the advisory kind of capability. That's, I think, the best way to scale, right, is to create these sort of ecosystem channels and build those co-engineering partnerships where there is profitability on both sides.
How you characterize the best of the best MSPs in today's world?
Trusted advisors, right? So know your customer really, really well and be able to provide services that are hyper-focused and best in class.
A lot of investments are taking place in the ecosystem. What has changed over the last 12 or 18 months that suddenly there's a big focus on the MSP world?
Growth in enterprise has sort of stalled out, and MSP is a great way at a low cost of sale to actually go activate those customers that are a little bit, in that sort of CAME, commercial enterprise type space.
Welcome to Zinnov Podcast, where we bring you conversations with eminent industry stalwarts and thought leaders from across the globe as they share insights on shaping the future of enterprise growth, AI, innovation, transformation, and more.
Hi everyone, myself Rajat, working in the capacity of partner with Zinnov, a boutique strategy consulting firm, and we are running the next series, the Business Resilience Podcast series, and today we have Aly Shivji, Group Vice President with Cisco, but more than that, a close friend and into the tech industry for more than 20 years. Aly, welcome to the podcast series.
Thanks, Rajat. Great to be here.
Yeah, and it'll be good for the audience to hear about you, all the experience that you bring on the table from your day one.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Aly Shivji. I lead global partner sales and tech teams at Cisco, Splunk. Before that, I spent 18 years at Microsoft. Been a supporter of partners for as long as I can remember. And it's exciting to be here.
Yeah, that's great. I think so. This is a good moment where everyone is heavily focused on the partnership, and especially in the partnership, we're looking at the MSP, the managed service provider, as an ecosystem really growing fast. So it will be good to hear from you. What are the key changes that you are seeing in this ecosystem? And what are the new trends that we are seeing? But to start with, for our audience, it will be good to know, what exactly is the MSP and how it has changed over the years will be good.
Yeah, so MSP is a really interesting space, right? Because it's like kind of a continuum of different capabilities. So everything from providing just managed staffing provider, right, to managed services provider, right, and the continuum in between. So some folks are providing staff aug, some folks are providing capabilities that are a little bit more strategy focused, but the industry's really seen kind of a consolidation of those functions, right? And I think the interesting thing is the MSPs that I speak to are looking for how do we provide value to our customers, not just in sort of the outsourcing and sort of resale capability, but how do we provide them, strategy consulting upfront so that they're making the decisions that make sense, rationalizing the tools around, their IT infrastructure, and then building on top of that and creating some new IP. So it's a really interesting space right now because, even though you classify them as MSPs, managed service providers, they're really moving into the professional services, the SI spaces, the advisory kind of capability.
Interesting. They want help on the strategy consulting as well. And what I've seen, and as part of Zinnov, that there's a significant shift in the MSP ecosystem. Suddenly, there's a lot of focus on the MSP partner ecosystem. A lot of investments are taking place in the ecosystem. What has shifted? What has changed over the last 12 or 18 months that suddenly there's a big focus on the MSP world?
Yeah, so I think it's been happening for a while, right? I think, a lot of sort of the growth in enterprise has sort of stalled out, and many of the ecosystems are looking for value down market, right? And MSP is a great way at a low cost of sale to actually go activate those customers that are a little bit, in that sort of CAME, commercial enterprise type space. So I think that's been happening for maybe 5 or 6 years now. What you're seeing now is actually a focus on software platforms, multi-tenancy, even like licensing capabilities to allow those MSPs to continue to provide value even now up the stack into enterprise. So I think that's been something that's been happening for a while, but now it's kind of growing up the stack.
Interesting. And you touched upon the word, the enterprise, that enterprises are looking for the low cost. But if you look at an example of the Fortune 500 or even the Fortune 1000, are they also keen to work and collaborate with the MSPs, or it's the next layer, which is like large to the mid-sized enterprises or the SMBs? Where is the maximum play of the MSP ecosystem?
So it's a point in time right now, right? And the point in time right now, I think, is in that middle layer. But you do see a lot of these enterprises taking a look at capabilities that MSPs can provide at a low cost and a low, research and development entry point. So for instance, in our space, we see a lot of MSPs getting into the AI defense side of the house, right? So how do we provide these capabilities to secure LLMs or to make, our models more secure that we're developing? Building that capability in-house, really costly, potentially something that, we don't know what to do with a poisoned LLM, right? And so having a managed service provider provide that capability is a great way to sort of enter into that market without actually investing a lot of that research and development.
Interesting. And you touched upon the IT infrastructure management, the security layer. These are some of the key workloads that MSPs at the moment are focused on, or are we missing on any other workloads also?
So security, definitely, right? So in our space, we talk to a lot of managed security service providers, right? And so MSSPs, traditional MSSPs. And the interesting thing is a lot of them are looking for what's their differentiator. Security is such a ubiquitous term now, right? So is it security of the network as well? Right? So are they providing some network operations capabilities in addition to security operations capabilities? We call that SNOC, right? We're bringing those two capabilities together. Or is it, them providing not just the IT service management, but also the application development, the transformation, the ability to sort of look at the tool set that a customer uses and say, hey, you can consolidate those, you can optimize those, and in fact, you can innovate on some of the things that you already have value.
Interesting. So is it more like a co-innovation, the powerhouse, which is catering to all the different layers that a customer needs, as you highlighted the IT infrastructure or the security or the application development? Is it catering to all the requirements that either the IT team or the CISO would have in their end?
Yeah, I think there's still maturity that's happening in the ecosystem. So not all those requirements are being met. And I think that's the opportunity for MSPs to really shine, right? So provide some business consulting upfront, really hyper specialize into a capability that is in demand, and then provide sort of that durable presence, right, in the account. So those three aspects, I think, the best MSPs today, I think, are taking advantage of all three, but there's still some maturity that needs to be developed there.
Got it. Now, if you look at from a partner ecosystem side, and you highlighted the word, the best MSPs, how you characterize the best of the best MSPs in today's world? Like, what are the playbook to have, what is the playbook to be the best in the ecosystem?
Trusted advisors, right? So know your customer really, really well and be able to provide services that are hyper-focused and best in class to those customers. I know, I was talking to several MSPs at Cisco Partner Summit. I just came from there. And some of them are telcos, and they've had these same customers for, decades, right? And so how do you continue to provide value to a customer that you've had for decades? You know them really well. They know you really well. They know your capabilities. And it's co-innovating together, right? It's really taking a look at their business model and providing them guidance on where that business model should go. So that's not an area I've seen MSPs play in before, but a lot more of them are taking a look at their like anchor tenants, their customers that they've had for years, and moving into more of like the business model transformation space, right? And providing those capabilities to them. It's more than just body shop.
I understand. So you mentioned the Cisco partner offsite. So in the last 48 hours, you've spoken to so many partner ecosystem.
Yeah.
What are they saying? What are they demanding from the players like Cisco, or in general? What are the key aspects they are asking from the platform players?
Yeah, I think we hear it really loud and clear. Simplify, right? Simplify it so that we can offer the best services to our customers, right? And make it easier for us to manage your solutions, your software, and then help us consolidate best of suite, right? So that's a conversation around the tool consolidation. And so, we're launching the new Cisco 360 partner program as a point-based system, and it's something that we've seen MSPs provide us some feedback on.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having just like a route to market for specifically MSP is incorporated into all our Cisco 360 motions, right? And so there's aspects of MSP, in every single one of the architectures. So we're trying to simplify it by making it so that the managed service providers can really provide value, focus on the value creation rather than understanding the program, understanding sort of aspects of how to leverage that program.
In today's world, like in this tech ecosystem, when we speak to the partners, we see that there's a heavy focus on the verticalization story as well, like how we can build and position the right industry solutions aligned to those each and every sub use cases. Do you see that in the MSP world also, when we say the simplification, along with that, how we can tell that industry story or the use case story? Do you see that as well?
I don't see it in the simplification. I see it in the differentiation, right? So, every bank is going to ask you, where have you done this before in banking, right? And so an MSP that focuses on that banking aspect, right, is really going to hyper focus on, their customer base, their sort of what they've done to run the bank, what they've done to change the bank, and how they've provided value across that. I do think that industries are changing as well, right? And we don't know where that's going to land in the space. So things that, may be relevant in pharmaceutical manufacturing are also relevant on the shop floor, right? In other manufacturing spaces, and especially with the advent of, sort of generative AI, you can take those same models. I mean, it's the same sort of math, right, associated with those models, and apply it to different training data, different inferencing, and come up with a completely different use case using the same sort of skill set.
And in today's conversation, if you don't speak about the agentic AI and the generative AI, the story is incomplete. How you see the MSPs reacting to the new developments happening every day, I would say that, coming up. So what are your takeaway on that?
Yeah, the way that and it comes up every time, right? Every conversation has generative AI and regular AI associated with it. And in certain cases, it's, just the ML conversation that's just been, sort of rebranded. The way that we look at it, and I think is really interesting, is that a sort of a reflection on how MSPs can leverage AI. They need to help their customers be ready for a world where the AI use cases are proliferating and they're not sure where they're going to go, right? So provide that security and management for that AI. But then also, how do you optimize your services? We talked about tool rationalization. There's also service rationalization. How can they offer the same value or even more value to their customers by leveraging AI? Right. And so both those are really interesting conversations, and we want to be able to address both of those,
Okay.
right? So that the MSP can, cover the gamut for a customer.
Interesting. That's very interesting. But if you look at, and if you do a benchmark, like there's a MSP, and now we are seeing the SIs are also becoming the MSPs. Why that shift is happening? Like, what is the reason, like, why they are moving? Is it like because of recurring revenue, having more customer acquisition? What do you think? Like, what are the key aspects behind that?
I think, I call it different colors of money, right? So your system integration is your professional services and advisor, color of money, and then you have your managed services, which is another one, and then your sort of IP solution development. And I think traditional SI firms are starting to see, hey, if I offer a managed service to my customer, I can have a durable presence in that account, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can continue to be a trusted advisor. I have data on some of the challenges and the problems. So it's really an easier sort of next gen sale, right? So you can take a look at some of the things that are coming through your MSP platform, find the issues that the customer is really experiencing, and then address those with some professional services. And then similarly on the managed services side, right? They're not even getting the conversation without having sort of that business consulting conversation first, right? And so there's a little bit of that consolidation of those two models. And then the third one, which you didn't ask about, but I think is really important, is the building IP and the co-building solutions with customers. And I see a lot of both MSPs and SIs moving in that direction, just so that they can provide that differentiated value.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's more on the co-build, that's the focus on that.
Right.
And I'll take an example, like we've seen that there's a heavy focus on the tri-party agreements, like bringing the hyperscaler, the platform companies or the ISVs, as well as the MSP ecosystem or the SI.
Mm-hmm.
How are you seeing that shaping up the tri-party collaboration or kind of the agreements?
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So I think I read a statistic around like 85 billion of revenue is going to go through marketplaces in the next couple of years. So you're starting to see a lot of those marketplace type activities, customers wanting to buy on marketplace, and partners, sort of doing multi-party offers.
Okay.
Right. And that's, where I think the trend is going towards, right? Building those multi-party offers so that, the transaction's easy for the customer, and the value is sort of stitched together already from the start.
Interesting. And do you see any geo colors as well, that customers in North America versus Asia versus Europe? Do you see a different trend or the expectations of the customers from you and the MSPs?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So what we've seen is like maybe a bifurcation of like how MSPs are selling to their customers between Americas and EMEA.
Mm-hmm.
So in the Americas, we see a trend of like managed service providers basically managing the customer's environment. The customer owns the license of the ISP solution. Whereas in EMEA, we're seeing MSPs doing more of the deal registration and like selling the licenses directly to customers, right? And I think there's probably a secular trend to that, as well as maybe an aspect of the types of customers that might be in the EMEA space.
Interesting. That's very interesting. How you see, like if you look at the marketplace as one of the channel to win the customer versus the direct selling, and you touch upon the on-premise also, that many of the customers are still on the on-premise.
Mm-hmm.
How you see the future coming along? Like what is the key shifts that are going to take place over the next 2 years in this world?
So I think it's really a conversation around where is the data. And we really understand this from our Splunk perspective, which is, for years we've been trying to bring Splunk, the data into Splunk, right? And now we want to bring Splunk to the data where it is. We know that like 55% of the data out there is machine data, mm-hmm. and it's accelerating faster than we can analyze it. So it's really a physics problem of like how much of that data are you going to ingest into a cloud-based service? How much are you going to keep on premise? How much are you going to keep in sort of the edge? So I think there's going to be solutions that, data lakes, data lake houses that are serving hybrid approaches. And that means that MSPs are going to have to deal with situations and customers that have everything. Every aspect of that, right? All of this type of data in the cloud, all of this type of data on premise, all of this type of data, in their own sort of data centers.
Interesting. So it's about, like the last point that you mentioned, it's more about the growth that you're looking at. And as a leader, you have to balance the growth with the nurturing of the partner ecosystem also. How do you ensure that?
Yeah, that's one of the hardest problems. I think, I've been part of the development of 2 different partner programs now, both at Microsoft and at Cisco. And that's a hard balance that you have to, because there's, there's NeoCloud and there's new partners that you want to recruit, right, and build the tent around. But there's also partners that are, strong partners for years, right? So as we started to bring the Splunk and Cisco partner ecosystems together, for instance, we thought long and hard about how do we make sure we really do right by the Splunk partners that have been building their whole business model on our product, right? And bring them to the Cisco ecosystem. You may have seen some of the announcements where at Cisco Partner Summit, a lot of the Cisco partners are now building Splunk practices, right? And so there's a merger of those ideas and capabilities, and I think partnerships is a network good, right? So the more partners we have in the ecosystem, the more value we're creating for our customers. So it's a really difficult balance to do, but we want to make sure that we do that balance thoughtfully.
Interesting. If I ask you, what keeps you awake in the night?
I think, what I mentioned around that data is increasing faster than we can process it, right? And trying to figure out how we value that data from a training perspective or from an inference perspective. An example is network data is super chatty. Do you need to bring all that network data in to actually do a security investigation? And we need to help our customers through that, right? And our partners are key to that, right? Providing that capability, that advisory, that approach to, where should data live? The fact that we're creating that data so much, I think that's a problem that we have as scale. And I think scale is our biggest problem as humanity, right? I mean, you go out to New York City traffic and you notice that, right? So that's a problem that we're going to have to tackle on head on, and I think it's going to take the entire ecosystem to do that.
But is that, when you look at the solving this challenge, like ingesting and analyzing the data, one is enabling the partners. Introducing new kind of partnerships will also solve, like, are there any other different elements other than the enablement, the partner enablement, any other aspect that should be considered?
Yeah. So partner enablement is table stakes, right? So I think our partners are demanding not just enablement, but co-engineering, right? Look, I've got these adjacent use cases. I've got these customers that are demanding these types of things in industry and horizontal and solutions. So how do we co-engineer? How do we co-innovate together so that our partners are able to meet that moment, right? Okay. And that's providing them with tools, resources, APIs, MCP servers to really take advantage, even just publishing models, right? To say, okay, here's where you can build your AI agents on top of. I think that's where we're trying to do things more than just the partner enablement. It's partner co-engineering and partner innovation.
Interesting. As you're like a partner leader, what is your advice to the other partner leaders? What are the skill sets needed by a partner leader like you? And in today's world, managing the partner ecosystem, managing the business, defining the go-to-market strategy. What are the skill sets needed by the leader like you?
So I'm a big believer in get out of your own building, right? Don't go to just your own conferences, right? So things like this where we're talking about, sort of the ecosystem or the industry as a large, because it allows you to talk to different partners that you don't talk to on a regular basis, and to access customers that you haven't had access to, right? So get out of your own building, I think, is one of them. The second thing is that you mentioned it a little bit earlier. You want to nurture both the new partners and recruit those, as well as support your long-running partners, right? And both are evolving. And so make sure that you maintain that balance. There's different ways to do that. But if you take an active approach to that, I think that's really important. And then third, continue to hire the best talent, right? I think partnerships is a space where people have relationships that they've had for years and, kind of move out to different companies. That network doesn't go away. It only continues to expand. And so bring in people who have those relationships that you don't have, right? And continue to hire that talent. I think that's super important. And those are the things that are important to us.
So in this ecosystem, you highlighted the hyperscalers, like you mentioned about the AWS of the world or the other players also. But there could be any new entrant in this ecosystem which we are not thinking of as of now, other than the hyperscalers or the ISVs or the telcos, do you see any emergence of any new entity in this ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the AI native companies are that right now, right? And I think they're building some of those ecosystems as we speak, right? And it's a novel sort of space. We're still learning on what partnerships succeed there. It's really exciting, actually, to kind of see that, because again, like I said, partnerships it's not a zero-sum game, right? And so if they're able to create value in a differentiated channel, right? Everyone wants access to models. How do we co-build those models? That's a new motion for every company that's out there. And that's bringing together, software companies, hardware companies, security companies, MSPs, SIs, right? To really rally around that model. I think those are the types of partnerships that are new.
Awesome. This is wonderful. I think so. This is a wonderful podcast with Aly. So much to learn, that a lot of work needs to be done beyond the core market. It's more on the core engineering. We need a lot of specialization in these areas, and we see the advancements of AI is helping in selling that as a solution, as well as internally optimizing on this. So I think so. This is a wonderful discussion. Thank you, Aly, for your time today and interesting insights. Excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you. We'll be back soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Zinnov Podcast. Stay tuned for more such interesting episodes. You can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, or any of your favorite streaming platforms.